Commander Juwu Park stood rigid as the holographic message floated in the center of Earth's United Defense Council chamber. The blue light cast eerie shadows across the faces of the 12 most powerful humans on the planet. The alien figure, tall with skin like polished obsidian and 4 glowing eyes, spoke with a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere at once. The Galactic Council has observed your species for 200 rotations. You are aggressive, unpredictable, dangerous. Earth is hereby placed under quarantine until your species reaches sufficient maturity. All attempts at space travel beyond your moon will be prevented. This decision is final. The message ended, and the room remained silent for 10 long seconds. General Taho Kim slammed his fist on the table. They think they can simply lock us away, like animals in a zoo. His weathered face grew red with anger. Taho had spent 40 years in military service, rising through the ranks during Earth's Third World War. He wasn't a man who accepted ultimatums. Juwu nodded grimly, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. According to this transmission, the Council claims 17 species agree we're too unpredictable to join galactic society. She zoomed in on the data packet attached to the message. They've already positioned ships at the edge of our solar system. Defense Minister Juno Lee leaned forward. How advanced is their technology? Very, Juwu replied. From what I can gather, their weapons could reduce our cities to ash within hours. Their ships can travel distances we can barely comprehend. What the alien coalition didn't realize, what humanity had kept hidden even from its own people, was that Earth wasn't as helpless as they believed. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in facilities carved into the seafloor, humanity had already developed rudimentary faster-than-light technology. The breakthrough came after a strange metal was discovered in the Mariana Trench 15 years ago. Director Hae-Hum Lee had overseen the project since its beginning. Her team of scientists worked in complete secrecy, developing technology that defied conventional physics. They had constructed 3 small ships capable of FTL travel, hidden within underwater hangars. The project, codenamed Poseidon, was Earth's greatest secret, and now, potentially, its salvation. President Minji Kang, a woman known for her calm demeanor even in crisis, studied the star map projected before them. What do we know about these council species? Not enough, admitted Intelligence Director Sungo Kwan. We've detected their observation probes over the years, but assumed they were natural phenomena. We've been blind while they've been watching our every move. The 12 council members exchanged worried glances. Earth had only recently recovered from the Third World War. Nations had finally united under the Earth Federation after decades of fighting over dwindling resources. The planet was still healing, its military forces combined, but not yet at full strength. We need time, said Economy Minister Ju Ha-yoon. If they're as advanced as they appear, a direct confrontation would be suicide. Juwu studied the alien figure from the message. Something about their tone bothered her, not just the arrogance, but a hint of fear beneath their words. Why would such advanced beings fear humans? Perhaps we can negotiate, suggested Diplomatic Minister Yoo-jin Choi. Show them we're not the savages they believe us to be. Negotiate from a position of weakness. General Taeho scoffed. They'll demand complete submission. President Kang raised her hand for silence. The room quieted immediately. For a full minute, she studied the star map, the alien message, and the faces of her council. Then she looked directly at Juwu. Commander Park, she addressed her, you'll represent Earth in these negotiations with the Galactic Council. Juwu blinked in surprise. Madam President, I'm a military officer, not a diplomat. You're both, President Kang replied firmly. You studied xenolinguistics before joining the military. You helped negotiate the peace treaty that ended the Third World War. You understand both diplomacy and war, exactly what we need now. The president's eyes conveyed a message her words didn't. Juwu instantly understood the real mission. She wasn't going to secure peace. She was providing precious time. While Commander Park engages the council, President Kang continued, Director Lee will accelerate the Poseidon project. General Kim will prepare our defensive measures. Director Kwon will gather every piece of intelligence available on these aliens. And if negotiations fail? Asked Vice President Min Ho-jong. They won't fail, President Kang said firmly, because their purpose isn't to succeed. Their purpose is to delay while we prepare our actual response. Ju-woo felt the weight of 7 billion lives settling on her shoulders. When do I leave? Immediately. An alien vessel will arrive in Earth orbit in 6 hours to retrieve our representative. President Kang's expression softened slightly. The fate of our species may depend on your performance, Commander. Later, as Ju-woo packed her few belongings, Director Hae-yeon Lee visited her quarters. The older woman carried a small metal box. This contains data on our FTL technology, Hae-yeon explained, handing it to Ju-woo. It's disguised as jewelry. If you find allies up there, this information might be valuable. But be careful who you trust. Ju-woo secured the box in her inner pocket. Do you think there's any chance they're right about us? That we really are too dangerous for the galaxy? Hae-yeon smiled sadly. Perhaps. But that's not their decision to make, is it? The stars don't belong to them alone. As the alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere that evening, Ju-woo stood alone on the landing pad. The vessel was beautiful, shaped like a teardrop, its surface reflecting the sunset in ripples of gold and crimson. It made no sound as it touched down. Ju-woo took a deep breath, straightened her uniform, and prepared to face beings from another world. Her mission was clear. Buy time, gather intelligence, find weaknesses. She wasn't going to secure peace. She was the first soldier in humanity's most important war. The Galactic Council headquarters was the most impressive structure Ju-woo had ever seen. It floated in orbit around a neutron star, a massive ring-shaped building that housed thousands of aliens from 17 different worlds. From her small ship window, it looked like a giant silver halo against the darkness of space. We have arrived, Earth representative, announced her escort, a tall blue-skinned alien named Moro. His 4 eyes never seemed to blink at the same time. Your quarters have been prepared according to your biological needs. Ju-woo nodded politely, though she felt anything but polite. During the 7-day journey, Moro had explained little about the Council or why Earth had been quarantined. Every question received the same answer. The Council will address your concerns in due time. As she stepped from the ship into the station, Ju-woo had to fight to keep her face calm. Hundreds of aliens moved through the massive docking bay. Some floated in bubbles of liquid. Others crawled on many legs. A group that appeared to be made of living crystal chimed softly as they passed. This way, Moro said, not waiting to see if she followed. The next 3 weeks became a lesson in humiliation. Each day, Ju-woo was summoned before different council committees. They asked her the same questions repeatedly, as if hoping to catch her in a lie. Explain why humans fight among themselves. Why does your species destroy natural habitats? How can the Council trust a species that nearly destroyed itself in nuclear war? Ju-woo answered carefully, explaining Earth's complex history, the recent unity following the Third World War, and humanity's efforts to repair environmental damage. No matter what she said, the committee members exchanged looks that clearly showed they didn't believe her. The human appears to be lying. A large insect-like alien clicked to his companions one day, apparently thinking Ju-woo couldn't understand. Notice how the skin color changes around the face. Typical of primitive species, replied another. They believe deception is a valid negotiation tactic. In private, Ju-woo recorded everything she observed about the Council and its technologies. She noticed how the most important decisions seemed to come from 3 species, the insect-like Karav, the crystalline Lumi, and the massive gas brothers called Thon. The other 14 species appeared to have little real power. By the 3rd week, Ju-woo realized the negotiations were a sham. No matter what she said, Earth would remain quarantined. Her quarters, while comfortable, were clearly a prison. The door only opened for scheduled committee appearances. Her communications were monitored. She was given no access to council information networks. One evening, after a particularly frustrating meeting where a Karev representative suggested humans might be uplifted through genetic modification, Ju returned to her quarters feeling defeated. As the door closed behind her, she kicked off her shoes and collapsed onto the bed. "They will never see you as equals," said a voice in the dark. Ju jumped up, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. A small figure stepped from behind the room divider. The alien was barely 4 feet tall, with gray skin that seemed to shimmer like silk. Its large eyes were dark with no visible pupils. "How did you get in here?" Ju demanded. The alien raised a 6-fingered hand and gestured for silence. "Your room is monitored. I have blocked the sensors, but not for long." It moved closer. "I am Duri of the Vex species." "How are you speaking Korean?" Ju asked, stunned to hear her native language from an alien mouth. "We Vec are natural linguists. I learned from listening to your private recordings." Duri moved closer. "I risk much by coming here. The Council does not allow unauthorized contact with quarantine species." "Why take that risk?" "Because you deserve to know the truth." Duri's voice dropped to a whisper. "Your quarantine isn't about aggression. It's about resources. Earth sits on the largest deposit of Zirium in the quadrant." "Zirium," Ju repeated. "A rare element essential for advanced propulsion systems. Your people call it element 115. The Council detected massive deposits throughout Earth's crust." Duri's eyes darted to the door. "The 3 dominant species fear competition. They quarantine any world with resources they desire until they can extract them." That's theft on a planetary scale," Ju said, anger rising in her chest. "Yes. My own world was quarantined for 200 years. By the time we were welcomed into the Council, our Zirium was gone. Now we serve as translators and minor officials." Duri pulled a small crystal from a pocket. "This contains the truth, Council mining plans for Earth, records of previous quarantined worlds, technology information. Hide it well." "Why help us?" Ju asked, taking the crystal. "Because the Council grows corrupt. Many of us smaller species suffer under their rule. Perhaps Earth." The alien stopped suddenly. "Someone comes. I must go. Trust no one, especially not the Karav." Before Ju could respond, Duri touched a device on his wrist and seemingly vanished into thin air. 5 minutes later, Morrow entered without knocking. "The Council requires your presence tomorrow for final deliberations," he announced coldly. His eyes scanned the room suspiciously. "I'll be ready," Ju replied, keeping her face neutral despite her racing heart. Back on Earth, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Jawan Ryu stared at the energy readings on his screen with disbelief. His team had been working on quantum shield technology for years, hoping to create defensive barriers against the alien weapons they knew must exist. But something had changed. "Run the test again," he ordered. "Use the new element sample." Since the discovery of element 115, what the aliens apparently called Zirium, in the Mariana Trench, Earth scientists had been studying its unique properties. The element seemed to bend certain physical laws, particularly around energy fields. The lab hummed as the test activated. A small cube of Zirium glowed blue at the center of the testing chamber. Around it, a shimmering field appeared, growing larger by the second. "Power output is stable," reported his assistant. "Field integrity at 99.8%. Jawan watched as the shield expanded to fill the entire chamber. "Begin weapons test." A mounted laser fired at full power. The beam hit the shield and dissipated completely. No penetration. Shield holding. The excitement in the room was palpable. Jawan grabbed the nearest phone. "Get me Director Lee immediately." 20 minutes later, Director Haeun Lee entered the lab. Despite the late hour, she looked alert and focused. "Show me," was all she said. After watching the demonstration, Hyun's typically serious face broke into a rare smile. Scale. Based on our calculations, Jawan replied, this technology works at scales previously thought impossible. With our current Zirium reserves, we can now protect an entire city. Hyun nodded slowly, understanding the implications. And if we had more Zirium? With enough, we could shield the entire planet. Director Lee's smile broadened. The Council's greatest fear is about to be realized. She looked at the glowing shield. They thought to cage us. Instead, they've given us the keys to our freedom. There's more, Jawan added. The quantum field doesn't just defend. When properly tuned, it could potentially disrupt any technology based on similar principles. Like alien ships? Weapons? Exactly. Hyun turned to leave. Double your team. Triple your resources. I want this technology ready for deployment in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? That's impossible. Hyun paused at the door. Commander Park is up there buying us time, Doctor. But I don't know how much she has left. Commander Do-hwa Choi stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the main screen of Artemis Base. The hidden lunar facility had been built inside a crater on the far side of the moon, invisible to Earth, and, until now, to alien observers. Through the base's advanced sensors, he could clearly see the Council enforcement fleet arriving at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. 5 massive ships, each one shaped like a flattened diamond and larger than any human vessel ever built, took position in a perfect pentagon formation around the planet. Their surfaces gleamed with an unnatural blue-black metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Magnificent, aren't they? Said Executive Officer Sun Woo-han, stepping beside him. Though his words were admiring, his tone was bitter. Each one probably capable of destroying a continent. Do-hwa nodded grimly. And they're just the first wave. According to Commander Park's intelligence, they plan to build permanent orbital stations to enforce the quarantine. Within a month, Earth will be completely cut off from space. The command center buzzed with quiet activity as 200 of Earth's best space officers monitored the alien vessels. Artemis Base had been Earth's secret for 5 years, built after the discovery of the strange metal, Zirium, that powered their new technologies. The base housed Earth's first true space fleet, 30 small but powerful ships equipped with FTL drives. They really think we'll just accept this, Sun Woo remarked, shaking his head. That will sit quietly while they steal our resources and keep us prisoner on our own planet. Do-hwa turned to face the room. Are the probes ready? Yes, sir, replied Chief Engineer Minabake. 2,000 stealth probes loaded and ready for deployment. Each one contains the complete package. Cultural transmissions from Earth, technological blueprints for free sharing, and the evidence Commander Park smuggled out about the Council's resource theft operations. And the tracking data confirms all targets? Do-hwa asked. Yes, sir. Using the star maps from Commander Park, we've identified over 300 worlds under Council control or influence. The probes are programmed to prioritize population centers of the 14 non-dominant species. Sun Woo looked worried. The moment we launch, we're committing to this course. There's no going back. Do-hwa met his gaze steadily. Earth was committed the moment they declared us prisoners. The Council left us no choice. He turned back to the screen. Besides, Commander Park is still out there. We need to create the diversion she requested. 3 days earlier, they had received an encrypted transmission from Juwoo. She had obtained critical information about the Council and found allies among the Vex species. She needed time to escape with both. Do-hwa straightened his uniform and felt the weight of his decision. This would be humanity's first action against an interstellar power. History would judge his next words. Begin the operation, he ordered. Throughout the lunar base, officers sprang into action. Deep in the facility, launch bays opened. 2,000 small probes, each no larger than a coffee thermos, powered up their stealth fields. First wave launching now, announced the operations officer. On the screen, Nothing visible happened. The probes were designed to be undetectable until they activated at their destinations. Using the FTL technology Earth had developed, they would reach even the farthest targets within days. All probes away. Commander, reported Chief Bake after 20 minutes. No reaction from the Council fleet. Now we wait, said Doa. Maintain alert status. Ready the defense fleet. 3 days later, Commander Juu Park ran through the corridors of the Galactic Council station, her small alien companion Duri leading the way. Alarms blared throughout the massive structure. Hurry, Duri urged. Security forces will lock down the hangar bay soon. They turned a corner and nearly collided with 2 tall Karav guards. Without hesitation, Juu dropped to a slide, taking out the first guard's legs while Duri leaped with surprising agility, striking the second guard with a small device that sent electrical pulses through its exoskeleton. 7 minutes until the diplomatic vessel departs, Duri said, helping Juu up. It's our only chance to escape. The past week had been a blur of secret meetings and data gathering. After Duri's revelation about Zirium, Juu had used her limited freedom to make contact with representatives from other smaller council species. Many were sympathetic to Earth's situation, having suffered similar treatment. Is your data secure? Juu asked as they ran. Duri patted a pouch at his side. Complete records of all council mining operations for the past 500 years. Enough evidence to turn the 14 subjugated species against the dominant 3. They reached the hangar bay where a sleek vessel with diplomatic markings waited, its engines humming. 2 VEC crew members stood by the entry ramp, anxiously watching for them. The diversion from Earth is working. One called out. 7 council worlds have already received the human transmissions. Communications are in chaos. Juu smiled grimly. Earth had launched its counterattack exactly as planned. Not with weapons, but with truth. As they boarded the ship, Juu looked back at the station that had been her prison for nearly a month. Will your people be safe after helping us? Duri's expression was hard to read on his alien face. The VEC have been planning this for generations. We're not just helping you. You're helping us break free of council control. There are others waiting to join us. The ship's ramp closed as security forces burst into the hangar. Too late. The diplomatic vessel, using its special clearance, slipped out of the bay before lockdown protocols engage. Course set for the rendezvous point, reported the VEC pilot. We'll meet the others there. Juu moved to the communications station. I need to contact Earth. Back on Earth, the situation was rapidly evolving. In capitals across the planet, people gathered around screens watching the first-ever broadcast of alien beings addressing humanity directly. Representatives from species they'd never seen before spoke of their own histories of being quarantined, exploited, and then controlled by the Council. In the underground command center beneath Seoul, President Minji Kang watched with her advisors as reports flooded in. The probes have reached 80% of their targets, reported Communications Director Yoon Hye-yu. Council communications are in disarray. 7 species have formally demanded explanations from the Council leadership. And Commander Park, asked the President. General Taho Kim stepped forward. We received a secure transmission an hour ago. She's escaped with her VEC allies and is heading to a rendezvous point with representatives from other sympathetic species. President Kang nodded, her face showing relief for a moment before returning to its usual calm determination. And our defenses. Dr. Ryu's quantum shield technology has been deployed around our major cities, said Director Hayden Lee. Our hastily assembled defense fleet is in position, hidden behind the moon. 30 ships, all equipped with both FTL drives and the new shield technology. Not much against 5 council warships, muttered Vice President Min Ho-jong. But enough to show we won't be taken without a fight, replied General Kim. Besides, the Council is now facing internal rebellion. 7 species are questioning their leadership. They can't focus all their attention on us. President Kang looked at the latest report. The Council has called an emergency session. Their unified front is cracking. She turned to her advisors. This is what we hoped for. Not a military victory. We could never win that, but a political one. Outside the Council ships orbiting Earth, nothing had visibly changed. But across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, the balance of power was shifting. Earth's counterattack had begun not with weapons, but with words, truths, and the offer of alliance. On the main screen, a new transmission appeared. Commander Ju Park's face, broadcasting from the stolen diplomatic vessel. Madam President, the operation is succeeding beyond our expectations, she reported. The Council is fracturing. We're not alone in this fight anymore. The diplomatic vessel carrying Ju and her Vec allies dropped out of FTL travel at the edge of the solar system. Through the view screen, Earth appeared as a small blue dot, with the 5 massive Council ships still in orbit around it like dark predators circling their prey. We need to be careful, Ju said, studying the tactical display. Those enforcement ships will fire on us the moment they detect our approach. Dury moved to stand beside her, his silver eyes reflecting the starlight. We've received new information during our journey. He handed her a small data tablet. The Council is splitting. 5 species have already withdrawn their membership in protest. Ju took the tablet, scanning the information with growing excitement. The Vec, the plant-like Neri, the aquatic Sen, and 2 other species had formally separated from the Galactic Council. Their combined territories represented nearly a third of Council space. This is because of our probes, she asked. Partly, Dury replied. Your evidence of Council corruption confirmed what many already suspected. But it was your offer of free technology sharing that truly broke their control. The dominant species have kept advanced technology from the rest of us for centuries. A message alert flashed on the ship's communication panel. It was from Earth, encrypted using the special code Ju had established before her mission. Commander Park, came General Kim's voice. Be advised, Council forces are mobilizing. Our sensors detect weapons charging on all 5 ships. They appear to be preparing a strike against major population centers. Ju felt her heart race. We're still 2 hours from Earth at maximum speed. We won't make it in time. Perhaps we don't need to, said Dury. He turned to the Vec pilot. Contact the Neri fleet. They should be in position by now. Ju looked at him in surprise. What fleet? Dury's mouth formed what might have been a smile. Did you think we came alone? The 5 withdrawn species have sent ships to support Earth. Your small world has become the symbol of resistance against Council tyranny. On the tactical display, 12 new signals appeared, dropping out of FTL travel on the far side of the moon. Ships of unfamiliar design moved into defensive positions around Earth. Now we watch, said Dury quietly. Admiral Una Song stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, Earth's largest warship. Though impressive by human standards, it was barely half the size of the smallest Council vessel. Her fleet of 30 ships had emerged from behind the moon, forming a protective barrier between Earth and the alien armada. Council ships are powering weapons, reported her tactical officer. Energy readings are off the charts. Our conventional shields wouldn't stand a chance. Una's face remained calm despite the fear she felt. Everything now depended on Dr. Ryu's new technology. Activate quantum shields. Full coverage pattern. Throughout the fleet, and at key points around Earth, the Xerium-powered shield generators came online. A shimmering, almost invisible barrier began to form, connecting the ships and eventually encompassing the entire planet in a protective bubble. Shields at full power, Admiral, the officer confirmed. And our allies. The alien fleet is holding position behind us. They appear to be waiting. Una nodded. This was Earth's fight to begin. How they handled it would determine their place in the galactic community. On the main view screen, the lead Council ship fired. A brilliant beam of energy, blindingly bright, shot toward Earth. It struck the quantum shield and dissipated into sparkling particles, like raindrops hitting glass. A second beam fired, then a third. All 5 council ships unleashed their weapons simultaneously. The quantum shield flickered with energy, but held firm. "No penetration," reported the tactical officer, unable to hide his amazement. "Shields holding at 92% strength." Throughout the bridge, officers exchanged looks of disbelief and growing confidence. The supposedly invincible council weapons had failed. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. "Open a channel to the council fleet." When the connection was established, Yuna spoke clearly and confidently. "This is Admiral Yuna Song of Earth Defense Forces. Your unprovoked attack has failed. We offer you one chance to withdraw." The response came in the form of another barrage. This time, the council ships adjusted their weapons, concentrating fire on a single point of the shield. The barrier dimmed briefly but stabilized. "Shields at 80%, said the tactical officer. "They're trying to find a weakness." Yuna's expression hardened. "They've made their choice. Return fire." Earth's ships fired in perfect coordination. Instead of trying to destroy the council vessels, they targeted specific systems: weapons, engines, communications arrays. Dr. Ryu's research had shown that the quantum shields could be reconfigured to disrupt similar technologies rather than just blocking them. The effect was immediate and devastating. Council weapons sputtered and died. Engine ports flickered and went dark. The massive ships began to drift, their systems failing one by one. "Council vessels are disabled, Admiral," reported the tactical officer. "No casualties detected on their side." Yuna nodded with satisfaction. "Keep weapons locked on. Let's see if they're ready to talk now." The battle had lasted less than 15 minutes. What was meant to be Earth's subjugation had instead become a humiliating display of the Council's vulnerability. 3 days later, Ju stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall in New York. Representatives from Earth's nations filled the chamber, along with delegates from the 5 species that had broken from the Council. On the main screen, leaders of the remaining Council species watched via transmission. "The terms are non-negotiable," Ju said firmly, facing the screen. "Earth will not be quarantined. The Galactic Council will be reformed with equal representation for all species. Technology will be shared openly, and all resource theft operations will cease immediately." The Karav representative, his insect-like mandibles clicking in agitation, responded, "You demand much for a species that has barely left its own system." "We demand fairness," Ju countered, "and we are not alone." She gestured to the alien delegates beside her. 5 species stand with us already. How many more will join when they learn the truth about your operations? You threaten the stability of the galaxy, argued the Thon representative, its voice booming through a translator. Dury stepped forward. "No, we offer a new stability, one based on cooperation rather than domination." The Council representatives fell silent, conferring among themselves off-screen. Earth and its allies waited. President Minji Kang approached Ju. "Do you think they'll agree?" she asked quietly. "They have little choice," Ju replied. "Their military advantage is gone. Their political alliance is fracturing. And their secrets are exposed." She looked at the screen. "But change won't happen overnight. This is just the beginning." The Lumi representative, its crystalline body shimmering, finally spoke. "The Council requires time to consider these terms." "You have 3 Earth days," President Kang replied firmly. "After that, we will proceed with our plans to share all technologies and evidence with every species in the galaxy." The transmission ended. Around the chamber, humans and aliens alike broke into conversation. Some celebrated, others debated next steps. Earth had gone from isolated prey to the center of a galactic revolution in less than a month. Dury approached Ju. "What happens if they refuse your terms?" Jumu looked out the window at the New York skyline, where citizens went about their lives, most still adjusting to the reality of alien contact. "Then we build something better without them," she said simply. "The galaxy doesn't belong to the Council. It belongs to all of us." The universe had changed. Earth had changed. And Ju knew that whatever came next, humanity would never again be underestimated. The new Seoul International Conference Center gleamed in the morning sunlight, its curved glass walls reflecting the blue sky. Built specifically for this historic occasion, the structure incorporated both human and alien architectural elements. Soaring arches inspired by VEC design alongside the clean lines preferred by Earth architects. 6 months had passed since the confrontation with the Council fleet. 6 months of intense negotiation, cultural exchange, and technological sharing that had transformed Earth's relationship with the wider galaxy. Chancellor Ju Park adjusted her formal uniform as she prepared to enter the main chamber. The title still felt strange to her. From military commander to Earth's chief diplomat in less than a year. A change she had never imagined when she first boarded that alien vessel. Nervous? Asked Director Hayden Lee, approaching with a tablet in hand. A little, Ju admitted. Having 22 different species in one room is still overwhelming. 23, counting humans, Heian corrected with a small smile. And you've earned this moment. Inside the chamber, representatives from across the galaxy had gathered. Some floated in special environmental bubbles. Others stood on raised platforms to match the height of the human delegates. The plant-like Neri swayed gently, their leaf-like appendages rustling as they communicated among themselves. The crystalline Lumi, who had broken from the council last, sparkled under the chamber lights. At the center of the room stood a large round table, crafted from wood and metals from a dozen worlds. On it rested a single document, the founding charter of the Galactic Cooperative. President Minji Kang opened the ceremony with a short speech. Not long ago, we humans believed we were alone in the universe. Then we discovered we were not alone, but imprisoned. Today, we gather not as prisoners or jailers, but as equals, ready to build something new together. One by one, representatives came forward to sign the charter. When it was Juwoo's turn, she felt the weight of the moment. Her signature would represent not just Earth, but a new vision for interstellar relations. Dury of the VEC signed next, his six-fingered hand moving gracefully across the page. The cycle of domination is broken, he announced to the chamber. Today we begin a new path. As the ceremony concluded, screens around the room displayed images from across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, people of all species gathered to watch the proceedings. Some celebrated in the streets, others held quiet ceremonies of their own. Later that evening, Ju stood on the observation deck of the conference center, looking out over Seoul's glittering skyline. The city had changed in subtle ways. Alien visitors now walked its streets. New technologies were visible everywhere. From the silent air trams that had replaced noisy buses to the small personal translators many citizens carried. Dury joined her, his silver eyes reflecting the city lights. Your world adapts quickly, he observed. We've had to, Ju replied. It's been a challenging 6 months. Indeed, Earth had faced many difficulties since opening to the galaxy. Some humans feared the aliens. Religious leaders debated what other intelligent life meant for their faiths. Governments struggled to regulate new technologies flooding in from other worlds. Yet for each challenge, there had been unexpected benefits. Disease rates had plummeted thanks to medical advances shared by the Sen. Food production had increased with near agricultural techniques, and global pollution had decreased by 40% with the adoption of clean energy systems from the VEC. The old council has been oddly quiet, Ju noted. The 4 species that had refused to join the cooperative, the Karav, Thon, Lumi, and Zor, had withdrawn to their territories, closing their borders. They watch and wait, Dury said. They still control significant resources and military power, but they fear your quantum shield technology. And they fear this new alliance even more. Below them, a celebration filled the streets of Seoul. Humans danced alongside aliens, sharing food, music, and stories. Children gazed in wonder at visitors from other worlds. We feared you would conquer the stars, Dury told Ju as they looked out over the nighttime cityscape. The Council truly believed humans would spread through the galaxy like a disease, taking whatever you wanted by force. Is that why they quarantined us? Not just for our Zirium. Partly, Dury admitted. Your history shows both great violence and great compassion. The Council chose to see only the violence. In a laboratory across the city, Dr. Jawan Ryu worked alongside scientists from 7 different worlds. Their current project combined quantum shield technology with Sen medical knowledge to create healing fields that could treat injuries and illness without invasive procedures. Try adjusting the frequency, suggested a Neri scientist, her leaves shifting with excitement. Dr. Ryu made the change, and the field stabilized, glowing with a soft blue light. It works, he announced as Director Lee entered the lab. Another breakthrough, Heian asked, smiling at the diverse team. A small one, Jawan replied modestly, but with big implications. Throughout Earth, similar collaborations were taking place. The old barriers of secrecy and competition were falling away, replaced by a new spirit of shared progress. Knowledge flowed freely between worlds for the first time in millennia. Back at the observation deck, a delegation of new arrivals entered. Representatives from a previously unknown species called the Myth had traveled for 3 months to reach Earth after hearing about the cooperative. Chancellor Park, their leader, greeted Jiwoo with a formal bow. We have come to learn more about this new alliance. You are welcome here, Jiwoo replied, returning the gesture. The cooperative is open to all who accept its principles of equality and shared advancement. As she began explaining the charter to the newcomers, Jiwoo caught sight of a small girl watching from the doorway. The child, no more than 6 years old, stared in wonder at the aliens. Hello, Jiwoo called to her. Would you like to meet our visitors? The girl approached shyly, then smiled as Dury knelt to her level. Are you really from another planet? She asked. I am, he answered gently. A world very different from yours, but now we are friends. The girl nodded as if this made perfect sense. My teacher says we're all going to visit the stars someday. Your teacher is wise, Dury told her. The stars belong to all of us now. Later, as the reception concluded, Jiwoo found herself alone with Dury once more. The Council believed we would conquer the galaxy, she said thoughtfully. Instead, we're building bridges between worlds. Not as conquerors, Jiwoo continued, watching as the first star appeared in the evening sky, but as architects of something better. Dury made the Vec gesture of agreement, and this is just the beginning. Above them, the stars seemed brighter somehow, no longer distant and unreachable. The species that once sought to contain humanity now found themselves contained by the very principles they had feared: cooperation, equality, and the free exchange of ideas. Earth had found its place in the galaxy, not through force or domination, but through the courage to stand against injustice and the wisdom to offer friendship instead of vengeance. The future stretched before them, full of possibilities neither humans nor aliens had imagined just 6 months before. The end.